Recorded Books and RB Digital present An Extraordinary Union by Alyssa Cole, narrated by Karen Chilton. Prologue. April 1861, Baltimore, Maryland. It will be an easy assignment, a simple passing on of information, one that even a girl such as yourself should be able to handle. Elle suppressed a bitter laugh as she recalled her loyal League master Laval's briefing from a few days before. Easy. Either her superior had dreadfully underestimated the Southern male's love of an opportunity to do violence, or he'd purposely set her in the middle of danger. She doubted it was the latter, but the man was unduly annoyed at her for having the gall to aid her country without virtue of a certain appendage hanging between her thighs. As if a penis would somehow prove more useful to the cause than her peculiar gift. From what Elle had discerned over the last few months, whatever supposed benefits the organ conferred were canceled out by mulishness and a propensity for tomfoolery. The scene around her proved that well enough. Her skin prickled with unease as she watched men stream into Baltimore's Bolton Street station, egging each other on as they awaited the train, carrying those first brave souls to answer Lincoln's call for volunteers after the abomination at Fort Sumter. Hats were pulled low and the rumble of deep voices plotting mischief filled the air. The crowd continued to grow, filling with plug uglies and longshoremen and aristocrats alike, until the air was thick with the smell of tobacco and unwashed bodies. The possibility of an easy assignment had been trodden under the boots of these scoundrels, with hate in their hearts and excitement in their eyes. Elle pressed her back to the wall and hoped the dingy gray frock and head wrap common to slave women would help her blend into the shadows. "Gonna give these Yankee bastards a taste of my prick," a homely man a few feet away from her said, tossing a small, sharp knife from hand to hand. Something akin to fear shivered down Elle's spine, but true fear was rooted in the unknown. The secessionists of Baltimore had already ripped up the railroad tracks and torn down the telephone lines, cutting off the city from the capital and showing that they meant every threat they uttered. They were plotting death and discord. Elle knew exactly what would happen if any of them suspected the black woman in the corner was in possession of ciphers that, once decoded, would bring many of their ilk before the justice of the Army of the Potomac. Baltimore had a secessionist problem, and Elle was there to solve it, if she wasn't found out first. Her stomach lurched as a man brushed past her, and she chastised herself. She'd survived weeks on the stormy seas during her ill-conceived voyage to and from Liberia the year before. She should be able to gird her loins a damned sight better than that. Hell, she'd lost Daniel and survived that too. She felt a wash of heat at her eyes and pushed away thoughts of her best friend and the rejection in his spun honey gaze the last time she'd seen him. That was the past. She'd experienced a sight more danger than seasickness and men's broken hearts in the last few months. She was a loyal League woman now. Her gift had gained her entrance into the society of blacks, freed and enslaved alike, with networks across the country funneling as much information to the North as they could gather. It was her quick wit and quick draw that had ensured her place as a detective, working to prevent utter chaos across the country as it slipped further into disunion. The nation was now embroiled in a war that would either see her people freed or forsaken. Whether Laval had downplayed the Baltimore situation was unimportant. This was her first solo assignment, and she refused to give anyone, Union or Confederate, the pleasure of her failure. Elle looked at the large clock face in the central hall of the train station, willing the minute hand to move faster and the train bearing the regiments to arrive. Her target was the Washington Artillery out of Pottsville, Pennsylvania. She sought their manservant, Nick Biddle. While Biddle was seen as a capable aide to the company's captain, like many of her brethren, he was much more than that. He was another who had sworn the 4 L's: loyalty, legacy, life, and Lincoln. There was a sudden commotion from the swath of men closest to the tunnel. The realization of impending action throbbed through the crowd from one end to the other just before the train whistle cried out, announcing its arrival. The men all around Elle surged forward as if the train emitted some magnetic force on them, drawing hatred to righteousness. Elle's stomach twisted again, and she closed her eyes against the ugly scene before her. Men shouted and showered the train with garbage and rocks. Animal entrails and other waste slammed against the impervious metal with little effect. But inside there were men made of flesh and bone who would have to march through this madness. Why must it be like this? Elle suddenly felt small and insignificant in the face of the pure hatred filling the air around her. She missed her home. She missed her parents. What was her purpose in this fight in which neither side could truly be trusted? She closed her eyes and focused her thoughts inward, taking a deep breath to quell her racing thoughts. She would reach Biddle and relay the message, "Crowd be damned." She was no simpering miss. She was Ellen Burns, and she was going to help destroy the Confederacy. She lifted her skirts to move toward the train, but a man stepped in front of her. He was taller and broader than the ragtag group who had occupied the space before him. He, too, exuded a kind of magnetism, drawing Elle's gaze to him when she should be looking away. His clothing, tight breeches, and a rough-hewn coat suggested he was a dock worker. The odor of fish further supported her supposition.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.